So we are in our next session here, and we have our moderator Amit Tiwari, who has joined us, who is the founder and CEO of MKT Software Private Limited. Welcome, Amit. Thanks for joining.
Thanks, Ravi. Hello everyone.
All fine. And we are joined by our other speakers here. I will like to welcome each of you. Namaskar to each of you. Namaskar.
Namaskar.
And
Namaskar.
so, Amit, while the speakers have joined, it will be a great idea if you can quickly introduce yourself and also request each of the speakers to briefly say one line about yourself so that our audience are introduced to you. So, starting with Amit. Please, Amit.
Thanks, Ravi, and congratulate for this wonderful session which you are organizing since last 4 days. In fact, today I believe is the fourth day. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
I have been a part of this wonderful endeavor since long, and I have seen Ravi very passionate about this type of activity. So congratulate for that person. As Ravi introduced me, I'm Amit Tiwari, the founder and CEO of MKT Softwares. We are in technology domain as well as we have a solution especially for the education sector. I wish we would have a wonderful session together. Thanks, Ravi.
Yeah. Welcome, Amit. And let me welcome our other speakers, Ashish Gulati ji, who is the Vice Chairman of Blue Bells Group of Schools, Gurgaon. Welcome, Ashish ji. Good to see you again.
Thank you, Dr. Ravi. Congratulations
Thank
for
you.
the event.
Thank you.
Very meaningful.
And we have with us Dr. V. Bindu, who is Principal of Hosur Public School, Hosur. Welcome, Bindu ji. Thanks for joining. Namaskar. And we have with us from Vardhaman group, I can see Dr. Kamal Setia ji. Kamal ji, namaskar. Thanks for joining. Namaskar. And we have Abhay Ghosh, who is Director Principal of Shanti Asiatic School, Ahmedabad. Namaskar, Abhay ji. Welcome.
Namaskar, Ravi ji.
Namaskar. So let me hand over this session to Amit Tiwari so that we start the panel ASAP, and I will go on the backstage. Amit, over to you, please.
Thanks, Ravi, and welcome all panelists once again. This is really indeed a wonderful initiative taken by DEAR, and this topic is much needed, I believe, since all of you are educationists. So, I believe this whole next 1 hour, we will talk about this topic, the impact, and our suggestions, what exactly we would like to suggest the prospecting and existing institutions, how they will form their strategy in this new normal era. As you all know that the COVID-19 pandemic has created a largest disruption in education system, affecting its nearly 1.6 billion learners in more than 190 countries and all continents. Closures of schools and other learning spaces impacted 94% of the world's student population, up to 99% in especially in low and middle income countries. The post-COVID-19, the world, of course, will be a different place. There will be a visible changes across a range in behaviors, even in shopping, eating out, traveling, everywhere. And of course, the education is not untouched. We understand the impact of pandemic has already been felt in education domain as well. It is reasonable to assume that this impact will be here to stay for a long time. This pandemic is clearly a sign of changing times and the human behavior. So the question arises in all the such cases. What type of changes are required in education domain? Since the topic today is the relevance of changing in curriculum, so we will discuss more about changing curriculum and the behavior and the deliverables, how the education will going to deliver. But we must also understand that we have to prepare ourselves to bring the best of online education into the classroom. The blended learning approach will be the new normal. The course of learning and the way curriculum are taught will be changed. And of course, it is started changing now. Aspects that were considered fundamental to education may be revised to largely accommodate the skills of the future. And not just careers, since they asked about the impact in the employment and all. What I believe that school education is less than the career building and this direct employment, rather than it impacts more on personality development, creating the fundamentals values, the basics, the how to basically feel the pressure that quality should be developed amongst the students, inside the students. And in this era, where not just career but residents of the future as well require skill are very much in demand. They have to change in terms of resilience, in terms of adaptability, collaboration, communication, empathy, creativity, and the most important, the emotional intelligence. The new world, social quotient and emotional quotient will have to play a very important role nowadays. Learning in the acquisition of knowledge, but it does not have to slowly occur through age-old method that basically do not utilize the highest potential of the brain, because our current brain is totally equipped with technology. So I will not take much more time giving the introduction that all we understand there's a need of changing the curriculum. But I would like to invite our speakers and to share their thought, what basically they think, what's their viewpoint, what strategies according to them, according to our panelists, should be schools and parents should adopt. So I would like to start with Mr. Abhay Ghosh. Uh, what's your viewpoint in this current scenario? What strategy and why there's a relevance of changing the curriculum? Mr. Abhay.
Thank you, Amiji, and thank you, Mr. Ravi, for inviting me for this session. When we talk about curriculum, when we last heard about this word, probably before National Education Policy, I think the last curriculum which we were following was NCF 2005. And thereafter, it took almost 15 years to, come down to some education policy, which will now be the base of a new curriculum, which is maybe probably coming by next year. So curriculum is not that it's once in a blue moon affair. It needs to be evolved. It needs to go on, and it has to have changes. Continuous changes, and it is ever evolving. As I look at the curriculum, basically, if you see, as you can just break it up into three portions. One is that the development of your cognitive skills, the numeracy and the literacy, and which we have been doing it from past so many years since our independence. And when we look at ourselves at the scores of PISA, we find we are just a little better than Kyrgyzstan. So nothing much achieved there also, just focusing on the cognitive skills. The other portion of the curriculum could be the non-cognitive skills, and which we are now talking about from last 5 to 10 years, that, oh yeah, this is very important now, looking at the changing scenario. Even before COVID times, we have been talking about non-cognitive skills. CBSE and other boards have been trying to harp upon it, how to integrate with our curriculum. Schools have been doing it. The third thing, which is, I think, now the most important thing, is the part where we develop the job-specific skills. Now, how this has to be integrated into the curriculum. Now, that's something which is, we are finding that the fourth generation industrial revolution has already begun. And if we do not integrate this portion into our curriculum, which I think all the educationists and the experts have realized, that This is important, and that's why the NSQF and all these national agencies are working on it. The NEP 20 has come, and a new national curriculum framework will also come. And they will be taking this in a big way, I feel. Now, this is something to do with our classroom teaching also. How do we integrate this in our classroom teaching? How vocational education has to be seamlessly integrated in our curriculum. At the moment, when we look at the skill development program or the vocational education, we see that it is just a separate wing or a separate thing, or it's one additional subject which you can take. Now, if that approach will continue, I don't think so we are going to make much of progress. So the time has come now that we give that opportunity, the choice to the children to actually choose their subjects according to their skills. The competency-based education. The competency-based education is the key word now. And that has been adopted now also by NCERT and CBSE and all the other boards, and this has to come in a big way. And this will also change our curriculum drastically. There has to be a paradigm shift. There has to be restructuring of pedagogy. Only then we are going to, prepare our children, make them ready for future. We don't know when we have to face another pandemic like this, but this pandemic has taught us many things. And I'm sure that the education policy has come at the right time. The curriculum framework is being designed at the right time. And this is going to help us to actually give more freedom to our children to do what they want to do. And the schools and educational boards and the experts have to play a very big role in this. So this is how I look at the change of curriculum. And I just want to, at the moment, stick to the point of curriculum. So I see these three categories, and we need to work upon these three categories. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Abhay. I will come up to you because I have a couple of points arises during this discussion. But before that, I would like to invite Dr. Ashish Gulati. What exactly he sees, he saw the current opportunity for institutions in this current trend. Dr. Ashish.
Thank you, Amit. See, the way I look at the current scenario and the scenario post this event of the COVID pandemic, to my mind, there are events in history which leave a lasting impact on the state of affairs of how things are conducted, especially in certain sectors like education. If we look at things historically, probably the independence of India and the partition of India was one such incident which left a lasting impact on the way people live their lives. So on and so forth, there have been lots of historical events, and I would rate this COVID pandemic as one of those events which is going to leave a lasting impact on the way we live our lives, the way we approach, the way we, the kind of attitudes we carry towards our lives. So to that extent, let's just kind of reflect upon what exactly has COVID-19 done. Firstly, it's a worldwide phenomenon. So one of the clear messages is that irrespective of whether you are a developed country or you are a developing country, whichever part of the world you live, you are vulnerable and you need to cope up with such disruptions. So that takes away the complacency of certain assumptions about our state of being from us. Now, in terms of the very pragmatic impact that this pandemic has had, it has actually brought us face to face with the uncertainties and the vulnerability and helplessness of mankind in certain scenarios. So again, deducing from this, what we see happened was a complete standstill of social life, of economic life, and we have all been witness to the way it impacted education. It has now been about 9 months since students have been to schools. So that brings us to think that what is this pandemic and the impact it has had is telling us for the future, and what is it that we have learned in these last 9 or 10 months. I think what it is telling us is that firstly we are vulnerable and we ought not to be complacent. Secondly, it is also telling us that it is only by flexibility and resilience that we can sail through these times. Thirdly, it is telling us that developing a certain skill set and earning a college degree and landing up a job is not a permanency. It is temporal in nature. So drawing from these, I think if we go back to the core topic of this discussion, what we need to build into the students is something that can be moderated through the curriculum and through the way the schools are approached and run. So I would take a slight deviation or an add-on. I would like to add on another important aspect of the school cultures here. As far as the curriculum are concerned, it is imminent. It was already coming. It was something that we and our education policy makers were already working towards, was more flexibility, more opportunities for students to learn across disciplines, more focus on creativity, more focus on emotional intelligence, and more focus on entrepreneurial skills and emotional intelligence. What this pandemic has done is, it has brought us face to face with the reality a little sooner than we may have come otherwise. So I think in terms of curriculum, the call, and yes, like Mr. Rakosh said, that the national education policy has come at an appropriate time. I think to that extent, there is a lot of promise in the National Education Policy 2020 that's coming. I am very optimistic. However, it is not the topic of discussion of this panel, so we won't go there. But some of the concerns that need to be addressed are, we need to provide more flexibility, we need to build more resilience into the students, and that's where curriculum comes in as a mediator, where we teach our students to cut across disciplines, think more creatively, be problem solvers, and learn to cope up with the vulnerability and uncertainties by resiliently learning continuously in times to come. That is something which I would attribute as a change that we can bring in by way of structured curriculum. As far as bringing in emotional intelligence, resilience, creativity is concerned, I would strongly suggest that there be more thought given to the school culture, to the way the schools are structured and operate in a value system, where the value system now ought to be more egalitarian. The connect between the educator and the student ought to be more of equity and as co-travelers as opposed to a hierarchical one. I think these are my two takeaways from this pandemic and its implications for the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashish Bharati ji. Of course, as you rightly said, emotional intelligence, social quotient will play a major role. If I talk about the syllabus of computer science in various IITs, where the cyber security earlier, which used to be a very optional subject, now it is a mandatory subject, but in future it may happen that human ethics will also be a regular subject in computer science. We'll come to this point later. Dr. Bindu, I would like to know your opinion, your takeaways, your thought process. How you change the current scenario? I request all the other panelists if they can mute their mic so the disturbances would not be there.
Thank you, Amit.
I invite you to share your reviews, please.
Thank you so much, and good evening. Good evening to all the panelists, speakers. COVID-19 actually, that the pandemic and the forced lockdown and the related global recession of 2020 actually have created an uncertain job market. Change so fast. Future is not something which will happen somewhere. It must have happened somewhere, and slowly it will come to our place also, our country also. It is like that. Future is, it is not something that has not happened. It has happened somewhere. The COVID-19 has actually shaken all the countries and has affected even the not only the health aspect, even the economic, everywhere that affected. Okay, but we see a high of relief when we hear about COVID-19 vaccine. But one thing, maybe by 2021 September, children would be back to school. We hope so. But what I want to tell is that when the children come back to school, the life won't be the same as March 2020. So many changes must have happened. See, we are already into the fourth industrial revolution. Many revolutions we have gone through, and we are into the fourth industrial revolution that started in 2010 with the introduction of artificial intelligence and robots. There was a study by the Oxford Martin School in 2013 about the future of employment. See, there are actually 814 categories of jobs. Categories. I'm not saying 814 jobs. There are categories of jobs, like a doctor means maybe the health department. So there are many jobs. In that way, 814 categories, and in that 46% of categories will vanish. So that was the prediction in 2013, and 70% of jobs will be completely removed. You know, but 10% of jobs have already been taken away by this COVID-19 in the span of 8 months. That is something which we need to look into. In this 8 months, 10% of jobs have already been lost. And then again, International Labour Organization also, they also talk about, there is a study by World Economics Forum in 2020, October. They talk about the skills needed by 2025 and the top 20 jobs that will be there in 2025. So all is a futuristic. So what I'm going to say is, along with the entry of artificial intelligence and technology, what happened to what will happen in the span of 5 years, we can just see that. So many jobs will be removed by artificial intelligence, and that is first category. Second category means when the jobs are removed, there are other certain jobs created by artificial intelligence. That also will happen. And in all the existing jobs, artificial intelligence and technology will be integrated in the future. So these are all futuristic, and by 2025, the time spent on current tasks at work by humans and machines will be equal. That is the study conducted by World Economic Forum. And again, interesting study, interesting findings. Number of jobs destroyed will be surpassed by the number of jobs created by the artificial intelligence. And one interesting thing is that 4-fold increase will be there in student learning online. We know very well that 2008 MOOC was there into existence, and by 2012 Coursera. So there are a lot of online platforms, and children will get knowledge from any expert anywhere in the country, in the world. So why do the children come back to school? When they come back to school in 2021, what should be our curriculum? In what approaches we should have? The teachers' approach. They have already seen the experts. They have already listened to the experts. So what do they expect from the teacher? So the curriculum, there should be a drastic change, and it is so good that NEP has come into, NEP, National Education Policy 2020. It's already there, and we have been already talking about many things. So with that, the teachers, school must understand what is the purpose of it. What they should do for that, because that even the career, that word itself is changed. It has been converted into workforce, and every 5 years jobs will become redundant. So that is the scenario, and we have to, the schools leaders have to reinvent or redefine our curriculum. So for that, a lot of things we have to do, and teachers must be facilitators. Of course, self-directed learning should be there. Heutagogy means self-directed learning should be encouraged, and teachers will be the facilitator. That we have already seen now. Flipped classroom, we have seen. And the power equation, when we introduce flipped classroom, what is happening? Power equation is actually changed. That is changed. That, of course, have to be changed. Okay, so the change in the mindset of the teachers must be there, and of course the curriculum must be modified, and it should have the coding, STEM, everything. Along with that, the other important skills required, which I told the important skills required: critical thinking, analytical thinking, problem solving skills. These are the skills of 2025. I'm not talking about the next century. 2025, the skills in self-management, active learning, resilience, stress management, tolerance, flexibility, emotional intelligence, core literacy, and physical fitness, physical abilities. So these are the skills that the workforce look into, the new career seekers in the job market. So in the school, we have to redefine our curriculum. So the physical education should be integrated, sports integrated, art integrated, because creativity is a part of that, and all the things like, the competency based education, and even the computational thinking has to be there, and everything, critical thinking has to be a part of that. So the learning has to be, the teaching learning scenario in the classroom has to be redefined. So that is what I have to say now. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Dr. Bindu. Of course, I will come to you later and we will discuss more about what will happen once the students will rejoin the college, and what will the impact on their physical activities, their new normal scenarios and all. But here I would like to know the views of Dr. Kamal Sethia here. Dr. Kamal, I invite you to please share your views.
Good evening, everyone. First of all, I would like to congratulate the organizers for including this relevant topic in your education summit. Everybody about.
Dr. Rama, we are not able to hear you, I believe. No, you are not audible. I think there's some problem with the mic, I believe. I would like to request Dr. Kamal, please log out and rejoin once again. I hope this will resolve the issue. Meanwhile, you are rejoining. I would like to invite Dr. Ram Raina here and request what your views here. Why the changing curriculum is very much important, but it's a need of the hour, how it will be impact in the post-COVID scenario. Dr. Ram, and meanwhile, Dr. Kamal, please log out and rejoin again. It will solve the problem. Ram, you are muted. Please unmute yourself first.
Yes, thank you very much, and good evening all. In Global World Summit, the most important thing we were discussing, everyone, all panelists has been shared a very valuable points over here. See, post-COVID session is still is a big question marks in front of all of us. But most important things, what we have faced and what we are still facing, that's very, very important. Ma'am has explained very well that how we have gone through this process when we were in the month of March. Our way of working was totally different. Our approach towards the 2020-21 academic year is totally different. So everyone is planned the whole curriculums. Everyone is planned their academic planners, the day-wise examination, all activity, all events. Everything was such a wonderfully planned, and the new welcoming of the new students. And all of a sudden, it's a jerk in the system. And when the jerk comes and the shocks comes along with that, and the shock was to not to continuing this academic year, and most you can say a dangerous situation for the teachers, because I always considering the teachers is the most important role model over here, and this situation was for them was such a shock, because those teachers were knowing this concept of digital learning, online teaching concept, fine for them, but those who are not comfortable, for them it was a different kind of experience altogether. Now learning and teaching, everyday learning and teaching also was a big task for them. I don't know how teachers were comfortable while teaching. The curriculum planners and everything was totally changed, because teaching in a classroom and teaching through online is, again, we also face a lot of problems. Just now, Dr. Kamal also faced a little bit problem. So how 10 minutes, 15 minutes was a big task, in 30 minutes time of a session, many classrooms. So Amit, it's really a big task for all the institutions, all the colleges, all the schools. But yes, during this pandemic situation, all teachers, according to their resources, according to their situations, they have somehow, right, overcome, and we are just waiting for the right decision from the government of India when we should start. But yes, the new education guidelines are definitely going to be helpful for all of them. And all the most important things here I would like to highlight, as many have been spoken about, what should be, right, and how should be this curriculum planner or curriculum system in the post-COVID session. But I would like to highlight here is a WAC theory, because WAC theory is the most important theory which we normally, use it in our education system, where V stands for visual, A stands for auditory, and K stands for kinesthetic. So here, audio visual is definitely there, right? But the kinesthetic part was totally missing. That is the physical training, performing arts, sports, other activities, and through that activities only, the emotional, social, performance, excellence, so many things we talk about, connecting to the nature, practical way of learning, new methodology is been applied while we interact with them while doing some activities, whether it is on the ground, whether it is in lab or any other visiting fields. So that the K is totally missing in this system. So in post COVID, this K is going to play a very big role. I mean, because see, nowadays, one, you can say 100, and I have just collected 1.6 billion learners were there all across the world, and in that too in 119 countries and subcontinents also. But apart from that, we have to go through the data. Round about 23 million students were dropped out because of lack of resources, because of the teachers were not there, because they are not trained. So it is a future post-COVID situation will be most of the students are not connected with the education system. We are talking about very good established schools, but there are so many schools who definitely they're going to face a big problems in terms of starting the curriculum from the day one with, you can say, A to Z again. So time is one of the most important factor. It's going to be play here. As I said, the WAC K is very important. The last point I will going to put here, the post-COVID understanding towards the education system is the normally we say that existence and coexistence, right? What is the existence here is that the students are right now they are connecting only through virtual reality. That's through videos or something. They are not moving out and understanding the situations, right? They are not experiencing. The experiential learning is missing most of the areas. So you can say that 10 days, 15 days, 20 days, 30 days, yes, we can talk. I mean, and all panelists, yes, we can talk. But after 20, 21 days, you will say, come, Mr. Ram, we'll meet up something and we'll just share our thoughts and would like to. So same things our students are facing right now. When they will come to the school, they just want everything again. They want, ma'am, we would like to see that how you was to teach earlier, we understand that way. That's called as the thinking patterns. There are 3 thinking patterns in the classrooms normally works, and which is going to be a post-COVID session. That is a comprehensive thinking, right? Cumulative thinking and the critical thinking. So comprehensive thinking students who are very fast and immediately they will give answer, and they are good on the online as well because they grab very fast, and they are you can say 2-3 sessions ahead than the other students. But apart from that, the curriculum has to be planned in such a way, and all the section has to be maintained in such a way that the procedural thinker, they need lots of facts, they need a physical touch, they need a lot of things outside the world. They need to touch, they need to feel, they need to understand one to one, face to face, then they understand the things. So I really feel very uh, bad for them, those who are procedural thinkers. They need a lot of attention, and in 40 number of class, 50 number of classes online, that is somewhere it is going to be missed, already missed, and it's missing right now rather. So that's the most important challenge, where when the teachers will come, right, they all need to adjust. The adjustment, and the most important thing, Amit, here is confidence. Building a confidence within the students that
Very true.
yes, this year, whatever 2020 is just gone. Now we are welcoming 2021, and we will take care of all your curriculum, all your syllabus, everything. Confidence very important. The trust is very important, because most of the students are having a big fear of the teachers because they have not attended the class. I don't know what they have done, right? So it's all about the confidence and trust. I think so we should make them special. So special is very important. S, social, emotional, right? P for performing arts, play with them like a player. E is most important. Entertainment, excellence, and energy is really very important, and the communication. If the teachers have a good communication, the management has a good communication, the government has a good communication, definitely the trust will go, and we will feel them appreciation. Special. The integrity is a part of special word that's also very important. The post-COVID, we need to take care of that. The integrity, right, and the accountability. Accountability is going to be connected with the assessment. Definitely talk about that, but accountability is one of the words, and leadership skills, which is the government has already declared. The skill is to be right. Listen, thank you so much.
Thanks, Ram, for a wonderful insight. Before I proceed for the next questions to ask with our panelists, Dr. Kamal Sethi again joined us. So, request Dr. Kamal, please.
Am I audible? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. So, I would like to invite Dr. Kamal again to please share the views before I proceed with the next part.
Right. See, in today's topic, we are here to discuss the relevance of curriculum, the employment scenario, and the effect of COVID. My fellow speakers have already talked a lot about the COVID and employment scenario. I would like to talk more about the relevance of curriculum. See, the pandemic has claimed many lives, and it's a big shock for the whole world. But I must say that all challenges should be looked at as opportunities. This has given us a lot of insight in the way we were working and the way we were operating. We were not ready, so we were shocked. We were shocked in the field of medicine, in the field of education, in the field of employment, economics, and so on. But we have learned also. See, we are having this virtual meeting, which was not possible earlier. And it's so convenient. You see, we are sitting at different places. We don't have to travel. We don't have to dress up. A lot of time is saved. And we can be, it saves a lot of time, and efficiency is more. Same thing has happened in the field of education also. Is that it has opened new vistas. See, as far as the curriculum is concerned, not much of thought has gone in it. For last 70 years, we have been studying the same curriculum, the same pattern, and most of the things have either become irrelevant or they are not so relevant in the present scenario as are other things. I mean, the world has changed, and during the COVID time, we have seen a lot of technological development. The technology has entered in the field of education um, much more than what was expected, and it has entered in 5 years earlier than it was expected. And today also, what we are discussing is not for today only, but for 10 years hence. I mean, whatever we decide or whatever we learn should also benefit the children in future. So the as my other speakers have also said, that the children are getting exposed to the electronic gadgets and internet, which allows them to see a lot of other content also, and they are playing games and all that. So apart from knowledge, health, more importance should be on creativity, knowledge of technology and its right use, which will come when we are ethical, and the moral character has to be, become a key in this, because they have to develop self-discipline as to what content to see and what not to see. Secondly, um, I'm looking at the brighter side of the COVID. We were discussing about the load of bag, which was increasing every day. For that, we made lockers in our schools so that they don't have to carry the whole books and copies to their home. Only the relevant things can be carried. Now, this will allow us to reduce the load of bag. This will allow us more time for students, because they can do their study in parts, partly online, partly offline. So now their coming to school is more for interaction, competition, other activities, problem solving, and attending the various functions. Most of the theoretical learning can take place online now, and this can become a regular feature in future also. So the subject which we need to include is technology, its use, and skill development. See, when we talk of employment scenario, what I find is that I am an employer also. See, Vardhman Group has a real estate business, and we have 2 schools and colleges. I'm also looking after the schools and colleges of some NGOs, and my exposure is from the entry level, that is playgroup, to college education. So what I find is that we are only distributing degrees. When I interview students for senior positions, I find that their practical knowledge or the skills which are required on the job are lacking. So for that, the practical approach has to be there. So children have to be exposed to the real world where their knowledge will be applied when they take up future jobs. Now these jobs are also not confined within the country. The world has become the market for jobs. I'm a student of marketing, so I look at it in a different way. Marketing is always consumer oriented. The education is ultimately going to benefit children, and how can they be benefited the most? Because हम स्कूल जाते थे तो ये होता था, शिक्षा, स्वास्थ्य और संस्कार, ये 3 चीजें बहुत जरूरी होती थी. Now creativity, discipline, moral character, and more than that, knowledge, the expression, the communication skills have become very important. Not only third language, but children should know at least 5 languages. This is important because tomorrow they may serve in France, or they may go to Australia or England. So it's not only Hindi, English, or a third language, but they should also learn foreign languages. The scope of education is widening. the course and curriculum needs a lot of addition, and for that children will always be short of time. So they have to be taught about the time management, about the personality development, and they have to you see, in Western world, you find that people, the students always go out and do some work, part-time work, which helps them earn their pocket money. But more than that, it helps them exposure to the real world, where their job is going to be, where their knowledge is going to be applied. For that, they can take up apprenticeship. They can become a volunteer in any organization. They may work with a lawyer or a doctor or a professional architect. This will give them on-the-job vocational training, which will increase their confidence level. Everybody was stressing a lot of on confidence, and that confidence is required to face the future challenges. So, in a nutshell, I would like to say that the curriculum has to be completely redesigned. A lot of things which are not so important or very little relevance is there, they have to be dropped out. A lot of new things have to be included in the curriculum, and their orientation has to be practical. The classrooms have already become participative. You know, in our times it was only instruction. Now it is interaction, participation.
Correct.
So students are equally important. So it is student, teacher, and technology. All the three have to be. You know, there's a lot of change in all the fields.
Student, teacher, and technology. Of course, we all the three stakeholders should have to work together. I will come back to you again, Dr. Kamal, and would like to ask Abhay Ghosji, because you were talking about competency-based education. So, of course, the competency-based education is very much important as a need of the hour. But don't you think that to provide the competency-based education, the training of the teacher is also the very much important, even in the post-COVID era, where everyone is the world is moving towards digital. So students are coming up with all the latest technology. But what are the challenges you are facing, and what's your suggestion to the institutions to provide such type of environment to the teacher as well, to train the teacher to give them the confidence and strong mind?
Yeah, you rightly pointed out, and you hit the nail actually on the head, because when we talk about schools and we talk about competency-based education, the teachers' training becomes the most important thing there. And I'm sure our national education policy is also giving a lot of emphasis on teachers' training now. And the courses like even, your simple B.Ed is now going on, becoming to a 4-year course and things like that. But that's all in the pipeline. But immediately when we talk about teachers training, I'm sure the digital literacy becomes the most important thing as far as the teachers training is concerned. Because we saw that many teachers, they found slightly difficult to learn the technology, and they had a bit of hesitation initially, but ultimately they did it beautifully. I think most of the teachers have come up to the challenge, and they are accepted the technology and going online each day. So post COVID, I think it has to go simultaneously. Once when we are talking about competency based learning for children, we have to also see that the teachers training also goes side by side, and the schools and the educational boards take that responsibility. We have got a lot of good initiatives taken by CBSE by having a Diksha portal, and there were lots of things like even for Swayam, and there are so many other portals which the government and CBSE has come up with in the NCERT, where the teachers can just take any training which is almost free of cost, and they can develop their competencies and they can develop their skills. So it is actually for the teachers to take that initiative now, and I'm sure that they'll be pushed to that particular thing, that they will start taking initiatives now to come up and meet up the challenges which they are going to face now as we are talking about future. I agree with all the panelists what they have said, And I'm sure that lots of skills which we are talking about, they're all meaningful. And this COVID, as I said, the non-cognitive skills, which now we need to focus, and job-specific skills, which we need to focus. These are the two things which we need to focus now to become future ready.
Short span of time, so I will request from all panelists to brief your answers. But Dr. Bindu, I would like to ask you one very important point here, because you have emphasized more on the adoption of the technology, especially the artificial intelligence and the virtual reality. Of course, the artificial intelligence and virtual reality will have to play a very important role. But don't you think if with a more adoption of the technology, although I am a technocrat, but still I am asking this question, how it is impacting the other side of the personality? Doesn't this create a negative impact on this coordination, confidence skill, as Dr. Kamal and Ram both have said very rightly, we have to build up the confidence. So what's your views on this point?
Yeah. I have said, like, teaching can be done through computers and graphics. Even the practicals also can be taught through these online labs and even the simulations. Of course, many careers are taught through simulation. Even the air flight, even the pilots get training through simulation. So everything is possible now. So that is the situation. That is the future. Okay, and what I say that technology will not remove teachers. Okay, but teachers who do not know technology will replace teachers who do not teachers who know technology will replace teachers who do not know technology. So that is the fact. So what I am going to say that children get information from elsewhere, but why do they come to school? They really want to come to school. So what are the things that await in the school? As you said, confidence, emotional intelligence, many things have to be built. So national education policy has talked about many things, everything. Of course, actually there is nothing that is not integrated in the curriculum now. Everything, knowledge of India, culture, languages, everything, the organic farming, everything have to be integrated into the curriculum, vocational. But what will happen, the level of learning should not go down. When we talk about emotional intelligence, competency level, or the skills of scaling, reskilling. So when we talk about all these things, I really want to mention that the learning outcome or the conceptual clarity should not be compromised. So that is why, we have got a very less point in PISA test, and we are all going to enter into the next PISA. Okay, so without compromising the conceptual clarity, the school has, multiple roles. We should not compromise concepts. We should always develop all the skills of the children, competencies of the children, and the vocational, everything have to be brought into the curriculum. Coding, artificial intelligence, everything have to be brought in. So teachers have to be trained for that. Teachers should understand that that is the need of the hour, and they should. So our role is to give popularity or spread this across the country, or this awareness has to be spread everywhere among the stakeholders, even the teachers, parents, everywhere, that change is something that is near to our door. So it is there. So we have to change. The transformation should be there, or transition must be there. That is what I really want to put forward.
Thank you, Dr. A last question to Ashish. We have seen a lot in the last 8 to 9 months, and we almost understood and unanimously agreed that blended learning will become a reality. So what your suggestion to the institution now, I'm asking Ashish Gulati ji, what your suggestions to the institution, how they have to streamline their strategies and build up a curriculum in such a way, because earlier it is it is a fact, those who learn 50% will not be welcomed by the industry in the near future. So the student have to be a more than 90% or even the 100% now. But again, we are talking about the blended learning, so request you to, in brief, please give your suggestions to the institutions how they should form a strategy and design the curriculum in a new way, using the blended learning in our mind. You are muted, Ashish. Please unmute yourself.
Yeah. Well, to unpack the concept of blended learning, I think it is it may be sound like an oversimplification, but it means that there will be classroom interaction as well as interactions in the school, and there will be some interactions and some dynamics online. So that is my understanding of blended learning. We wish to unpack it. Technology has lots and lots to offer. I think we ought to be very careful in deploying technology and not allowed to overload and take away the human element. That is the primacy of blended learning. Secondly, it ought to be used with a lot of discretion, and we ought to leave it on wherever we cannot, whatever we cannot do by face-to-face physical teaching. The very important aspect of which is something which we have already covered, is the audiovisual aspect, which has been covered about a decade back with well-entrenched audiovisual smartboard-like solutions in the classrooms. Now with this, the furtherance of the technology available to us, I think the biggest opportunity is to offer personalized learning. Because for the want of time, we cannot offer personalized learning in classrooms. So blended learning allows extension of time as well as a fine-tuning of the learning needs of each student. So like I heard from Mr. Raina, that there are students who think deeply, there are students who think faster, there are students who think broadly. So I think now each of these specific personalization can be offered through blended learning, in addition to supplementing whatever time does not permit for. For example, revision classes. For example, parent-teacher meetings. The other aspect is that online content be available to students to learn at their own pace and time and in an asynchronous manner. This is as far as I have understood and seen the scope of blended learning. I'm sure there will be much more which will unfold when we start exploring blended learning in a more detailed and in-depth.
Thank you, Ashish. Though we have a lot of questions, but I know there's a limited time as well, and we have to respect the timelines set by the organizers. So I would like to conclude before thanking all the panelists here. Of course, the change of curriculum is not a need of today. In fact, it has been discussed since long. As soon as we are moving towards the digital era. The only good thing of this COVID impact is the people who were earlier reluctant to adopt the technology and change, thinking about the curriculum change, now they are also gaining speed and gaining momentum. And of course, they have to. There are few new normals nowadays, like we talk about the blended learning. Of course, it will become a reality where the online education as well as the physical education together will play a very important role. But side by side, the training of teachers is also very important. We have to boost up the confidence not only inside the students, but inside the teachers as well. The third very important point, which has been discussed a lot, that institution, while changing the curriculum and all, they have to deploy the new technology, artificial intelligence, virtual reality, the use of ERP type of application with the e-learning platforms. Because unless until we do have a platform ready, which is compatible with the latest technology, all the things will be going to vanish. And the fourth, the very important point, and it is the last point basically, though everything is important, curriculum need is change is need of the hour. It should be. But as Rana said, the confidence inside the student is very much important. Side by side, we have to train them the basic humanities values. I've discussed about the cyber security. There's a two aspect. After learning the cyber security, you can become a ethical hacker and you can become a basically thief of the cyber asset. We have to train this type of quality inside the student mind. What is the difference? How we can use the technology for the growth of the society, for the benefit of the society. So humanities, coordination, cooperation, and physical exercise is also very much important. Couple of points to say, but again, since time is pausing me to say any more thing, I would like to thank all the panelists who joined here with me, share their valuable thoughts. Of course, it will be some insights for the audience as well. And thanks, ELET's team, for organizing this wonderful session and inviting us. Thank you once again. I request the organizer to please come and take the.
Thank you, Mr. Thank you, Mr. Thank you very much for such a wonderful moderation and closing this session in up to the time. And thank you each speaker and panelist for joining 17th World Education Summit. I request Deepak, can we honor the speakers with the speaker certificate? It is a small token of appreciation from our side. So speaker certificate is presented to Mr. Amit Tiwari, founder and CEO of MKT Softwares Private Limited. Thank you, Mr. Thank you for joining 17th World Education Summit.
Thanks a lot.
And
Thanks a lot.
we want to honor speaker certificate to Mr. Abhay Ghosh, Director Principal, Santi SST School, Ahmedabad. Thank you, Abhay sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Speaker certificate is presented to Kamal Sethia, Chairman, Vardhan Group, Jaipur. Thank you, Dr. Kamal sir. Thank you for giving your precious time to 17th World Education Summit.
Thank you.
And it's our honor to give speaker certificate to Mr. Ram Raina, Founder, Director, Cambridge International School, Pune. Thank you, Ram sir. Thank you very much for joining World Education Summit. And Dr. V. Bindu, Principal, Hosur Public School, Hosur. Thank you, Bindu ma'am. Thank you for giving your precious time to 17th World Education Summit. It's all our honor to have your presence. And Mr. Ashish Gulati, Vice Chairman, Blue Bells Group of Schools, Gurgaon. Thank you, Ashish sir. Thank you for joining 17th World Education Summit. So by this, I would like to request all our speakers that we are going to wrap up this session, and I request all my audience that if you have any question, you can take the question offline as well. You can follow the social handles of all our speakers. You can drop your queries, drop your questions, they will revert you back. Otherwise, you can drop your question at education@digitallearning.in so that we can get back to you. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Namaskar.
Thank you.